Hello everyone, welcome to the April 17th CSGO DFS slate breakdown, talk about however you want to call it. We have a little bit of an interesting four gamer here in the PGL European RMR, pretty much uh, major qualifier, I guess you could say. So something, teams are going to be gearing up for, everybody plays for the majors, of course. That's kind of the big Super Bowl type tournament that these teams are playing for. So although this is kind of early group stage qualifiers, ultimately getting to the major and winning it is the ultimate goal in CS:GO. So this is a relatively big time event, I guess you could say, but it's a pretty interesting one here today. So these all are best of ones. Well, I just closed one, but as you guys can see from Mao's OG here, best of one, best of one. So that's something we're gonna have to keep in mind here as well. So we're gonna have to throw out things like the sweet bonus, that kind of stuff. Mainly when it comes down to these best of ones, money line I think can be a little misleading, just because we're not talking about needing the sweet bonus and having to get good crazy performances here. We're mainly looking for good individual players, and I guess that's kind of it. That's all it comes down to here in this DFS, sphere. All you need is your players to get DFS points. So that's what we'll look for here as we keep that in mind as we go forward talking about these games. So we can go ahead and get started. We can kind of quickly run through the money line, I guess, kind of to get it a little bit of an idea on who the good teams are, et cetera, et cetera. So now we can go ahead and get it started here. The first series is Gamer Legion versus Fnatic. We have Fnatic minus 200, Gamer Legion plus 153. As you guys can see, I'm going to be sorting by the last month or so. I like to see what teams have been doing relatively recently. I don't like personally looking at things from much further out. I've said this in pretty much all of my videos and a lot of the time. When it comes down to esports, in my opinion, how you're playing at the moment and your mentality, your confidence, all that stuff matters a lot more, I think, than it usually does. So that's something I like to keep in mind here. So if we look at Gamer Legion versus Fnatic here, we can see Fnatic still with their a little bit newer roster. They're bringing in an academy player in Pebzer. They're keeping Krim, Alex, and Mezi. They obviously got rid of Smuya. They bring in Poison, the Bulgarian opper, to handle that opping duty. They were kind of off to a better start. I think, let's see if we go to 3 months here. Yeah, you could see they were doing a lot better. Picking up some better level, they were picking up wins. I guess we could kind of leave it at that. But if we switch it back to 1 month here, I think this is a little bit more accurate. But as we could tell from the Gamer Legion side here as well, I think this is also a relatively not great team. I think they're a pretty solid tier 2 team. And I would think Fnatic has the name brand or name recognition of a tier 1 team. However, I think the players and roster is pretty uninspiring overall. I honestly don't I just kind of don't get the line here really. I feel like we've seen a lot more Gamer Legion play. I like that kind of stuff typically. It has been a little bit of a gap. As you guys can see, the last time they played was in March 2017 or March 27th. I mean, so it has been about 2 to 3 weeks now they have not been playing. So that's not that great. If we look over on the Fnatic side, they last played about 11 days ago against Ents. They've only played 2 teams in 5 games. It was Heat and Ents. We've seen a little bit more variety here from Gamer Legion. Overall, I think this is a pretty close series. I'm not going to ride too heavily really on either side if we look at pricing. As we can see, I have these sorted by sorted by name. as we could see, Gamer Legion are pretty cheap here. I definitely prefer that side of it. I think overall Fnatic are pretty overpriced here relative to, I think, expectation and that kind of stuff. I don't see Fnatic really blowing them out necessarily. And I think when you're looking at these like $8,000, $9,000 price tags on these Fnatic players, it's just really tough for me to get there, honestly. So I prefer the guys on the Gamer Legion side. We know from the past that the guys would be Era and M, the top two there for Gamer Legion. Look at their previous results. We can see it actually has been M and Isaac. Era has been falling down a little bit. That's pretty interesting. We could take a look at these two players and see how they've been performing recently. So Isaac's been doing pretty well individually. That's pretty impressive. Era, he's been doing a little bit better in maybe things like the opening kills. But Isaac overall has been a little bit better of a player. As you can see, their deaths are pretty similar, but Isaac has a few more kills. That's not a lot, that much of a sample, but overall, that is still something definitely worth noting, that it actually has been Isaac doing a little bit better than Era, but it still has been M as kind of the front runner there. Maybe this is something I should have prefaced with beforehand, but one thing I'm really looking for in these best of ones specifically is kill share. As you guys could see, Zero and Rusty are doing pretty poor relative to the rest of the team, so I like taking the shots here with the Gamer Legion guys. If they do pretty decent, I think they have a good shot of getting some decent scores. They're obviously pretty cheap, that can enable us elsewhere. I definitely am fine with that. Looking over the guys, yeah, like Isaac is at 6K, M is at 7.8. I don't think you necessarily have to cross off Era. It's just it just feels worse to play Era at 6.8 when Isaac has been doing better at 6,000. But obviously, again, best of one, variance is ramped very high up here at this level, and just best of ones. The difference between caching and not caching might be a score of like a little bit, like the first place versus non-caching might be like 20 points or something. So like a couple rounds could literally dictate how you score and how your lineup is doing. So I'm fine with all three of these guys. My preference would probably be M and Era, M and Isaac, although I definitely don't think Era is a bad play either. On the Fnatic side, again, I'm just not going to get there. I think if you do want to get to somebody, I think it would be Mezzi. He has been the kind of the front runner. If we expanded, it has been Crimson Mezzi, but these, as you guys could see, they're 96 and 8,800 respectively. So I just don't see it. And again, I just don't see I think this team's a little overrated overall, honestly. And yeah, I just don't agree with this price, and I think the Fnatic are overpriced here. I don't think it's necessarily a bad play. I just like the Gamer Legion side. I think if they do better, they have a little bit more condensed kill share on those guys like Im, Era, and Isaac, and they're cheaper, and I like the options they give us. Heading over to the second series, it is OG Mouse. Whoops, I have these in a wrong order. Well, I guess. Yeah, Vitality Dignitas is technically the next one, so in terms of in time, I guess. So we could kind of talk about that, I guess, in this order. So Vitality Dignitas, that's weird, it's last in DK, but it's like second in the terms of when the game is actually happening. As you guys can see, Vitality minus 500, Dignitas plus 345. If you guys know me and you know my channel or know any of the information I like to typically give out, now I have these in all of a weird order. Vitality, Dignitas, there we go. You guys know I'm typically on the Fade Zai Wu, and I think this actually is a really good spot for it as well. I just think this price is kind of crazy, honestly. I feel like these teams are not that far apart. It is a minus 500, and again, we just mentioned this, the variance is ramped up extremely heavily here. Best of one, we're talking very slim margins at this level of Counter-Strike, and I think minus 500 Vitality is a little egregious here, honestly. I do think they are the better team, etc. Zaiwu, second best player in the world, all that. You guys don't need me to tell you that, but um, I just don't understand it. Like they literally just lost to Skade. I remember this slate. This was one where I recommended going with Skade over Vitality as well. Maybe I didn't make a video on it, but I did remember playing that slate at least, and I thought Vitality was a gigantic favorite there against Skade when they really shouldn't have. I do think Skade is a better team than Dignitas. That is some concern, as we could see Dignitas, for example, they've been losing to even a little bit lower level teams like Copenhagen Flames. They dropped one there against Hellsayers. There it is. I understand it is a different level of competition here. I do worry, definitely for sure. Like when you're taking a big underdog like this, it's definitely risky. Um, I just think people are going to jam in Zaiwu because really large favorite. He is going to project out extremely well all the time. Um, he's a really good play all the time, and I don't really blame anyone for it. But I just like the leverage it gives you if you leave off Zaiwu and you go with the Dignitas side. I think this is a pretty close game. I think these odds are a little crazy. I would say Vitality minus 200-ish, minus 250, somewhere in that range. I just don't agree with this minus 500 price. Simple as that. I'll take all the leverage and all the positives I think that can be garnered from going on the other side. Again, we just talked about kill share. We know if Dignitas are going to win, it's going to be through Heap and Hauserk most likely. Maybe Forrest has a little bit better of a game. And we could see Heap and Hauserk at 64 and 6,000 respectively. Forrest at 44, I think, is a really strong value if you need it. But this is the second team in a row where we're liking a lot of value. So eventually we're going to have to start spending some of that salary. But for now, I'm liking all the leverage and stuff you get from going with Dignitas. I like leaving off Vitality. I get it is pretty risky. I don't know if I necessarily recommend it that much in stuff like single entry or cash or anything like that. I'm personally going to be going that way, though. I'm going to be leaving off Zaiwu and Vitality. I'm going to be going with Heap and Hauserk. I think they can definitely get the job done here, and it wouldn't be that shocking to me, and it would be, I think, shocking to a lot of other people. So that's kind of why I'm going that direction. Moving on to the third game, I believe this one is Saw versus Big. As you guys can see, Big minus 260, Saw plus 190. This one is also pretty interesting. I think, again, we've seen kind of big ups and downs here from Big. But I think overall they have a little bit more consistency and a kind of a flat level where I feel more comfortable with them being as much of a favorite here. I just think we've not seen enough from Saw at the highest levels here. I know that sounds a little silly after just talking about how Dignitas has not done that much at the highest levels either and then going with them. But I think Saw, overall, they just have not shown that leap or that upside really there. I think they've consistently been a pretty strong tier 2 team. As you guys can see, like they've taken some games off of like kind of reputable teams here like Entropic, Movistar Riders, one win. Like they've beaten relatively decent teams. I just feel like this one is a little bit too one-sided in a certain way. Again, this one does worry me though. It is pretty close. Like at minus 260, if the slate was different and I didn't like two underdogs already, I think we're talking about this pretty differently. But I like Gamer Legion over Fnatic. That one seems a little weird to me. I like Dignitas over Vitality. So we're on two underdogs already. Do I really want to load up with the third one? Not really. That's kind of what it comes down to here for me. I do like the Saw guy. I do like the Saw kind of more money line more. I think my plus 190 is a little... that's a decent price, I think. But for DFS purposes, I think we just talked about, again, in the previous two series, with the looking at the kill shares and all that stuff, we could see the Saw guys are really condensed. It can be pretty much anyone on the day. And I just don't like the shakeout of the Saw team. I would much prefer to go with the big side. I think the big players have extreme upside capabilities. We could definitely see a lot of it coming from Searson. He would be a really big target for me on the slate. Back that up with players like Favin or Tabson. As you guys can see, Crimbo and Tizian are lower on the kill share, kind of ranking or whatever, however you want to say, hierarchy. I think that opens up a lot more for for those other three mentioned or players that I mentioned earlier: Searson, Favin, and Tabson. Um, I like the upside of those players. I think this is probably going to be where I'm going to spend my money. As you guys could see, Searson 9.8, Tabson 9.2, Favin 6.8. Favin's going to be pretty chalky, I'd have to imagine. Maybe, I'm not sure. I say this in every video, but I'm not a good indicator of ownership. I really do not have a good read on it, but Favin at 68 should be highly owned. I think he's a really, really solid value at that price. I like getting him in as well. But I also like getting up to Searson and Tabson. Hopefully Searson and Tabson are a little bit forgotten at this high end because we are fading players like Zaiwu, Dupree, who's going to be popular. I think maybe Mezzi will be popular. So hopefully we get a little bit of a different like spread out ownership here, and hopefully we can get some nice ownership, nice low ownership on guys like Searson and Tabson. That would be pretty nice. Then rounding it out, going to the fourth one, we have Mouse versus OG. These odds have been moving pretty quickly, as we could see. I think by the time we saw the first section of the video, the odds are very different from what they are now. So these odds are ever changing. I'd definitely keep an eye out for that. But I do agree with the sentiment here that Mouse and OG, this is a really, really close series. So as we could see, usually I've been sorting by the past month, but we could see with the OG side, they have not been playing for the past month, and that definitely, it's weird because this team, we do not know what to expect, and that's a lot of it what it comes down to here. I do think this is a series I'd like to target pretty heavily overall because I do think these teams have similar styles. Excuse me. If we talk about the overall makeup and like composition of these two teams, we can see that they are European mixed teams with a notable in-game leader here. Like we have Dexter for Mouse and Nexa over on the OG side. We have very strong individually talented players. We have Frozen, Torzi, JDC, BMAS, even all four of those players, and I would rate the OG guys even similarly. I like Valde, Mantu, Flames, even Nico has had some upside. So we've seen a lot from a lot of these players. It's going to be kind of guesswork here, honestly. But we have seen this roster play together. It's just been a little bit. It's been more than a month. For this roster, they've only played 4 games. They just got together recently. So all we have to go off of is 4 games. That's not a lot. I definitely would love a little bit more sample. But as we could see, Torzi and Frozen have been unreal. BMAS has kind of been the third option there. Going to the OG side, we can see it's been Valde and Mantu. I think that's kind of been the OG duo for me. Like I've played those two players in so many lineups so many times, and it's worked out for me so much. You know, it's gonna be hard to get away from those two. Picking a side here is gonna be really tough. I could definitely see an argument from both sides. I think there is even a case where you could argue that you could play players from both sides. I could definitely see like Torzi and Mantu both having pretty good games, and if we look at pricing, they're Mantu's 6.6. That is just simply a misprice. Torzi 8.2, that's definitely affordable there. 7 Frozen, like these are pretty bad prices, I think, over on the OG side and the Mouse side. Like this whole series is really priced. When it comes to like picking a side, this one again, super tough. I'm pretty torn on this one. I could see this one going either way for sure. When it comes down to what I'm leaning, I think I'm leaning slightly just towards this OG side. I do think they have a little bit more pedigree and kind of proven ability. And I do kind of think that they do have more to show. I think these names are pretty solid. We've definitely seen players like Valde and Mantu do really strongly as like a top 10 team. And I think they have that level of upside. We just have not seen that from the Mouse side. I do think they do have upside in them. I do think they do have really big potential. They've been playing really well overall as a team. People did not expect that much from this team. and they've hit the ground running. And I just worry that they might come to a little bit of a halt here. I think if you were to tell me this game ended in like a 16-6 and one team blew out the other, I would more so say I would be more surprised for it to be Mao's winning. I would think OG would be the one that would blow them out. So I like the upside there. I like Valde, Mantu. It's kind of tough to say anyone else because it feels very questionable kind of with the rest of the lineup. I think Flames has more individual talent inside of him. I think we've not seen the best of him yet. I think he's a young, very raw, individually skilled player coming through from like the public matchmaking scene kind of. So there's a lot left to be kind of untapped within Flames. We've seen spike performances from Nexa and Nico. So if you guys were, for example, doing something like an optimizer, I would not X out any OG players, honestly. It could be any of them. On the mouse side, I would probably just do everyone but Dexter. Dexter, although his numbers here are a little bit better than JDC, I would not expect that trend to continue. It could be anyone. I think, again, Torzi, Frozen would be the top two. Bemis maybe a little bit behind him in third, and then JDC would probably be the fourth option, but I would not want to get down to a fourth option here when we have this many options. So yeah, that's going to be kind of it for me today. This is kind of a little bit more of a quicker, faster paced style video, just because it's four best of ones. There's not a lot to break down or garner really. It's going to be a lot of randomness. We're going to see probably a winning lineup with a player I didn't even mention today. Like we're going to see somebody like, let me find like a random name. I don't know. Somebody like, I don't even know. I feel like we did talk about everyone, but I don't know. Maybe we do see like a really big performance from somebody like Apex from Vitality. We've seen him have really big individual upside. Magisk, Dupree, like all these all these Vitality players we've seen upside from. But if you told me Poison had a really big day, or even if you told me that Mantu, Valde, and Frozen and Torzi or something, like I could see so many players from this OG Mouse series do well. This would be one series where I'd like to get more heavy on, just because again we can see so much individual talent on this on display here. I could see like 6 or 7 players from this series coming through and breaking the slate. Like I could see Bemis, Torzi, Frozen, maybe even JDC. I could see all 5 OG players breaking the slate in terms of score there. So I think that's a little bit crazy prospect as well. So that'll be my approach. I like loading up on, I don't want to say both sides of OG Mouse, but I think that's fair. I would like both sides of this one. I like Big over Saw. I would like to load up on Searson, Tabson, and Favin as a salary saver option, but I think all 3 of those players are I think it's definitely Searson and then Tabson / Favin. Vitality Dignitas, can we just talk about this one? I wouldn't blame you if you want to get the safety of Vitality mixed in your lineups, but I think the overall kind of consensus, like chalky style build, will probably consist of Mantu, Frozen, maybe Valde, maybe Torzi. Like all 4 of these guys are pretty underpriced, so I could definitely see a mix of these guys paired up with the Vitality guys, or even I don't think anybody from Fnatic will be all too chalky, but I like the Gamer Legion signed a little bit. I would probably overall as a whole on the slate, Gamer Legion Fnatic, I'd probably not want to get too much of a part of. If I would, it'd probably be a little bit of Gamer Legion, but I wouldn't go too heavy with this one. I could definitely see this one being pretty close, not seeing a lot of DraftKings scoring upside in this one. OG Mouse, probably want to load up on this one. Again, I think although there is so much talent in this series between these 2 teams, that can also lead to downside too. So we just know that it doesn't matter what your opponent is doing. If you're playing well and feeling it, it doesn't matter, who you're going against. And I think there's a lot of upside from that aspect in this series. So I definitely like loading up on this one. Saw Big. I would probably just avoid Saw altogether. I think that, again, we talked about their kill share is pretty low. There's not a lot to love there. Jeez, my apologies. My throat's kind of going towards the end here. But I like Big. I think they have good individual talent upside. Especially Searson. I think he's probably like my number one uh, option on the slate overall. I love loading up on Searson, maybe mixing in some Tabson or Favin, depending on salary needs and stuff. Um, for the Tabson slash Favin thing, if you want to get different and maybe hopefully get a little bit of lower ownership, I would go Tabson. If you need the salary but you're willing to eat the kind of eat the chalk, I would imagine it would be Favin at 68 instead. Vitality Dignitas, again, we talked about this. I think this game is closer than the odds suggest. I think people are going to load up on Vitality as they typically do. And I'm willing to take the leverage and hopefully Dignitas end up getting the victory here. And I like that idea. I like the Vitality side. I feel like I'm kind of fading a lot of things here, but I don't want to kind of change the way I'm playing or change the way I'm thinking just because of the ownership or anything like that. And I just feel like that Dignitas is a little bit undervalued and overlooked here. So I like them for sure. We know Heap and Hauser would be the two I would like to go to. If you do want to eat the chalk, maybe get a little bit safer, go with the Vitality side. I think it's tough, but between all the Vitality players, it would probably be Zaiwu, then Dupree, then Magic, and then Apex. But we've seen Apex have good individual skill upside. He is somebody who traditionally likes to take the aggressive routes and likes to do these things. Takes the round into his own hands, and that can produce some nice scores. So if you do go to the Vitality side, I think there's a lot of good options, but I personally just rather take the leverage. So that'll be it for me today. Best luck to you guys. I know it's been a while since we've had some CSGO content out, but I've been checking the slates and everything, and I don't want to make content where I'm not playing the slates or anything like that. I like doing these slates and talking about these games when I do, kind of do my own research and do all the things where I talk about the games and stuff. So, this is a slate I intend on playing. I like getting the action down on this one. I think this is a pretty fun slate. A lot of things are open and a lot of opportunities I think are present, so I'm willing to take my shots where I like them and that kind of stuff. I don't want to play slates where there's minus 2,000 favorites. That's what we've been having a lot of stuff. So pretty decent slate. A lot of opportunities I think are present, and hopefully we can be in the right spot for them. So that'll be it for me today. I will see you guys in the next time. Don't know when it'll be. Hopefully we can continue to get some slates like this. That would be pretty fun. But I can't promise anything. It just depends on what DraftKings is putting out. So I will see you guys the next time.